I'm Toni Preckwinkle, chair of the Cook County Democratic Party, and I'd like to welcome you to The 80, our podcast about the Cook County Democratic Party, its candidates, and its leaders. We're beginning the podcast by interviewing our elected Democratic committee people to discuss their backgrounds and thoughts about the history and future of our party. Today, I'm excited to welcome Byron Sigcho-Lopez. All right, did I get that right?
You got it right. Thank you, President. Good to see you.
Alderman and committeeman of what ward, Byron?
The 25th ward in 25th ward.
All right, now tell us where the 25th ward is and a little bit about the communities included.
Yeah, so I have an honor to represent one of the most diverse areas of the city. The 25th ward encompasses Pilsen, Chinatown, West Loop, parts of the South Loop, parts of the UIC, Little Italy area, Abla Homes, and McKinley Park. So we have a little macrocosm of what we see in the city, and I'm really honored to represent such a wonderful community.
All right. As you pointed out, a very diverse ward.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, how did you come to be alderman of this very diverse ward?
Well, my involvement in politics comes mainly from education. I think I'm a former teacher. I was I was teaching adult education in a lot of public schools through a leadership program in UIC. I did that for over 10 years. And I got involved in politics, basically trying to save our public schools. I was a soccer coach, a volunteer soccer coach in one of the local schools. And one of the news that the schools were going to close down back in 2012, I became very involved trying to save the schools. As you know, I see a lot of my students really needed spaces like this for sports, for youth programming. We were doing adult leadership for the parents, writing, and soccer for the kids. So we really became active because we know that not having those schools would have made a tremendous difference for families and kids. That's how I got involved in a local nonprofit, Pilsen Alliance. Then we got involved in other fights against a metal shredder and other things, and here I am, 9 years later.
All right, now you were a soccer coach and a teacher of adult literacy in an adult literacy program. Is that right?
Yes, President.
Okay. Now we talked earlier, and you were a soccer player. Is that right?
Yes, right. That's right. Yeah, I played a little bit of college in Tennessee, in a school in the college in Tennessee.
All right. And you came to this country as a teenager. Why don't you tell that story? Because it's fascinating.
Yeah. So, I like many people, sometimes we sometimes don't know when you're going to have to leave your community, you leave your neighborhood, your city. So back in the late 1990s, Ecuador had a really serious financial crisis. Unemployment was in all-time highs, 500% inflation. So the country was in really bad shape. I come from a middle-class family. Both of my parents are dentists. They work for the government. But at that time, unfortunately, we had a car accident that left my family at the time of a crisis. That's what I've been very passionate about, access to healthcare and other issues, so our family, basically, we've been bankrupt, basically, because of the medical bills. And my family got a little settlement out of the car accident that we were into. And so I took, my mom was actually in a coma back then, and I don't know what got into her, but she woke up after a week in coma and just told me, you just got to go somewhere else. I think it was a time where we were in, I was graduating from high school. It would have been difficult for me to go to school, given the crisis and our financial situation. So I was very fortunate for my family that basically put everything we got for me to come as an exchange student. And I landed in Tennessee, out of all places, and without much English language behind me. And that's, and I did my last year of high school, and I'm very grateful for the family in Tennessee allowed me to stay a few years and go to college.
So you were an exchange student. You came to the United States from Ecuador, ended up in Tennessee, where you went to college, but you came here to Chicago for graduate school. Is that right? And
that's right. So the family that the family which was a
Sponsored you.
the
Right.
family had family in Chicago. That's how I paid. So in 2001 was my first visit to Chicago. The family had the grandparents live here in Chicago. I heard all about Chicago. The host mother was an African American professor who taught me a lot about the history of the city, Black American history, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. And when I got here to Chicago, the first place that I went to was Nuevo León. For a meal, and after that I said, look, that's what I gotta go someday. So one day I took my bags, and that's how I got here.
All right. So you came here, connected to family from the folks in Tennessee, and went to graduate school. So that's a great story.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for the I mean, I wouldn't be here without them. So to the Turner family, Carmen, my host mother, made a world of a difference, and really, I owe him a lot to be here, and always grateful, trying to give back every day.
All right. So that's your kind of your immigrant story, right? Your immigrant. All right. Tell us a little bit about what your challenges are as alderman of the ward and what you're trying to do as committee person.
So some of the challenges, and I think for all elected officials right now in the middle of a pandemic, is the route to recovery, right? I think that the unemployment numbers are unprecedented right now in our Black and brown communities, in our Chinese community as well. So we've seen the huge effects that the pandemic has had in our community, on our small businesses, on our small homeowners, tenants. So I think that the path to recovery right now is ensuring that we can get vaccination to our essential workers and seniors ASAP. The situation where unemployment is concerning, violence, of course, is an issue citywide, and the pandemic has exacerbated a lot of the issues that we already have. Poverty levels in all-time high, small businesses who are barely making it. So we have a health crisis and a financial crisis that will need that we all come together as a community. I think that what I've seen, is unfortunately a lot of people coming together from the Chinatown community, Pilsen, West Loop, kind of working together as a coalition. We're starting having, during the pandemic, first weekly, now monthly calls with all the stakeholders and leaders from across the 25th ward, trying to address these challenges. And I think it's not only going to take a village, but it's going to take a lot of work between every level of government to address these issues on housing. Housing is a huge issue. 21,000 evictions have been filed so far, and a lot of concern around foreclosures for small homeowners, small businesses who are actually operating a limited capacity. So we have a situation that will really require not only local coordination, but also collaboration from all the levels of government.
Yes, trying to get out of this hole that we're in is going to be a long haul, but I'm very grateful that the Biden-Harris administration has put forward a very substantial recovery plan. I think in 2008, we didn't respond with sufficient resources at the federal level to help local communities and states rebound. So hopefully we'll be in better shape this time. What do you hope for from the Biden-Harris administration?
Yeah, so I mean, we hope that they deliver on the promises that were made, around not only immigration, right? We still have kids right now as we speak, still detained. We still have some challenges ahead. So we hope that we move quickly towards comprehensive immigration reform, right? That we want to make sure that our immigrant families are treated with dignity and respect, something that was lost under the previous administration, and I think something that we need to honor, right? I think these are promises made back in 2008 that need to be fulfilled. I think that I see with great eyes that the like you said, unprecedented relief package that is coming that we didn't see under the previous administration. We are in the city of Chicago expected to receive as much as $8 billion in relief that we do need urgently. We hope, of course, that with this money coming in, that it's going to go to public schools, that it's going to go to vaccination, that it's going to go to relief for small businesses, tenants, and small homeowners, small businesses. We hope that the issue of equity, right, that unfortunately, and the previous administration, it was a disaster. I think worst possible scenario. We do hope that in the next few years we push for a Green New Deal. We hope that we need to put our resources where the science is, where or the future shows, right? That we need sustainability, we need long-term jobs. We need to invest in not only cleaner energy, but sustainable long-term jobs. I think that's some of the challenges that we still have in the city. But I do hope that through an administration that respects the environment, that respects working people, I think that the PRO Act, it seems like, organizing and actually the right to organize seems to be a priority on the organization. That is a very good thing. I think it shows that elections matter and that we got to continue pushing, to make sure that corporations like Amazon and others don't retaliate against the workers, that don't retaliate against the working people, but that they're held accountable, that we hope that we continue to help on the right to organize, the right for working people, and that we put policies that are bold, that are innovative, and that are in line with what the people on the ground need. I think that there's so much need, but I'm hopeful that we can continue to push and working towards better days. I'm hopeful.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. It's we're clearly in an extraordinary moment, and we need, of course, the help of the federal government, but a lot of the burden for trying to implement recovery initiatives is going to fall on local elected officials like yourself. What do you see happening in the city of Chicago as we recover?
Well, in the city of Chicago, I hope that we have a different vision where we work more closely together, with the county, with the state. I think that is good to see changes, in Springfield. It's good to see more collaboration. I think that we need to have at the city level better coordination, with the county, with the state, so that we can put priorities in place when we have relief. I think that there's got to be the $8 billion, coordination in the schools. I was very happy to hear you yesterday when you were talking about, these unfortunate and really tragic events in Atlanta and the anti-Asian hate crimes that have happened across the country. I was glad to see, and I know that you as a teacher have been pushing to make sure that we bring a curriculum that explains our kids or our future about the history of Asian Americans in our country, the issues that we have, and that the history does justice to the facts. I think a lot of contributions, not only from Asian Americans, but also Black community, Black history, Latinx history. I think that is really hopeful to see maybe a revamp in our schools, that we invest more in violence prevention, that we invest in youth, in programming, in arts and culture. I think that in social services, I think there's a way to recovery, right? And of course, vaccination is at the core of all of this, but we do need to invest more in people to think that we unfortunately have allowed corporations and billionaires to put profit over people for way too long. But I hope that with coordination, with bold, courageous leaders, we can make changes and there are policies that come and help people on the ground, the people who are hurt, Black and brown communities, Asian communities, white poor people that are right now in urgent need for us to talk about housing policies, healthcare policies, that small businesses. I do hope that the relief comes in a time where we need to make sure that every single level of government is in coordination to work for working people and not for the corporations and billionaires that unfortunately have continued to push their own agenda.
You're part of the Progressive Caucus, and in particular, one of 6, I think, members of the city council who would describe yourself as democratic socialist. How does that lens influence your work?
So to me, socialism has been something that I've seen very closely. Since I grew up, I've seen the effects of neoliberal policies, trickle-down economics, disinvestment, austerity. Again, in a country like mine, when I grew up, where my first home, I think that we've seen the unfortunate effects of those policies in recovery. We see a community that continues to struggle because there's no self-determination, there's no social services that are in line with the needs. And I've seen, unfortunately, what trickle-down economics does. I've seen that, and I think at a time like this, with so much inequality, a big crisis, we've seen, the research shows under FDR, big recovery packages, the New Deal brought investment, brought relief, and an unprecedented growth. Unfortunately, we've seen how corporations and billionaires like the Koch brothers that have continued to put a very radical right-wing agenda that has disinvested from the poor to subsidize the rich is not sustainable. They're real criminal policies when we don't allow healthcare to be a human right, when we don't allow mental health services to be accessible to people, when we have made housing a huge business instead of something that needs to bring stability to our neighborhoods and better economies. For when we see subsidies going to subsidize mega developments instead of investing in green technology, we see pollution, we see industry that is destined to fail, getting more resources when green technology, visionary policies like the Green New Deal are put aside. So my influence it comes from reality. I've seen how these policies don't work. A consequence of that is massive migration. A million people in Ecuador left the country, in a country of 11 million. Massive chaos and crisis. I see a lot of the same thing here. And in my own community in Pilsen, that's what prompted me to fight back, because I see austerity, I see corruption, I see a lot of the same policies. And I think, I think Rosa Luxemburg had a really good quote that said, it's either going to be barbarism or socialism. We need to have faith in social policies, that social services work, social services that bring relief, that bring the basic services that our families need, or small businesses need, or homeowners and tenants need. And I think that's the route to recovery. The Green New Deal, that is a socialist policy, Social Security. A lot of what the Republican Party is trying to take back, those are social policies. Those are socialist policies. So I strongly believe that is through our efforts towards a different imaginary, that we are going to avoid having these limitations. We can be so creative, innovative. So that's what we want to also bring more young people, new, fresh ideas, and with hopefully a political push, we can bring some of these policies to fruition.
Well, thank you. I want to thank you, Byron Sigcho-Lopez. Did I do it right this time?
You got it right.
All right, good. All right, Alderman and Committeeman of the 25th Ward. Did I get that right?
You got it absolutely right.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. We're very grateful. We know that this is going to be a challenging year for local elected officials at all levels. We wish you luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.